You probably don't mean to hurt your golden, but every time you close that door and say, "See you later," something inside them breaks a little. Golden retrievers were bred to be partners, workers, family. Their entire genetic code screams connection. When they are left alone for hours, what you might call quiet time feels to them like exile. And the worst part? They don't understand why. People often think dogs just sleep when no one is home. But studies from animal behavior universities show that isolation can raise their cortisol levels and lower oxytocin, the hormone of trust and bonding. In other words, your dog's body literally interprets loneliness as danger. Imagine being locked in a silent room every day, waiting for someone who might not come back for hours. That's what many Goldens live through, over and over again. Now, here's the tricky part. They don't show it the way humans do. You won't find tears or loud protests. They wait, they yawn, they chew, they stare at the door. Those aren't cute quirks. They're symptoms of stress-driven boredom. A bored golden retriever is like a musician with broken instruments, still full of talent, but no way to play. And if you ignore those signs long enough, their bright energy dims until it's just... Think about it for a second. When was the last time you came home and actually looked at your dog's face? The ears that drop not from tiredness, but from emotional fatigue. The toys untouched in the corner? That's not laziness, that's quiet resignation. According to behaviorists, when Goldens are left alone consistently, they begin to self-soothe in destructive ways, licking, pacing, shredding paper, or even sleeping excessively to escape the emptiness. The myth says they'll get used to it, but says they don't. What actually happens is emotional adaptation, a polite way of saying they shut down. The Journal of Veterinary Behavior describes this as learned helplessness. The dog stops expecting joy, stops expecting interaction. And once that happens, rebuilding their trust takes weeks, sometimes months. Every hour you're gone without giving them any sense of anticipation slowly rewires that bond. But here's the part that breaks my heart. Many owners confuse independence with emotional survival. When their dog stops barking or waiting by the window, they take it as a sign of maturity. In reality, it's defeat. Goldens were never built to thrive alone. They are teamwork embodied. From hunting companions centuries ago to therapy dogs today, their happiness comes from partnership, not solitude. Now don't panic. This doesn't mean you should quit your job and never leave the house. The solution is simpler than that. What your golden needs isn't your constant presence, but your predictable presence. Routines create security. Try leaving them with a piece of your scent, a worn t-shirt, a soft blanket you've used. Pair your departures with enrichment toys that stimulate their brain, not just their jaw. Their mind needs challenges the way their heart needs company. Studies show that even a few minutes of focused play before leaving can reduce stress hormones significantly. Imagine that. 5 minutes of fetch or scent play buys hours of calm. And when you return, don't rush to your phone or suitcase. Make eye contact. That small ritual tells them you were never forgotten. It rewires loneliness into reassurance. If your golden could speak, they wouldn't ask for more food or fancier toys. They'd ask for predictability, consistency, and moments that prove they still matter when you're busy. They live in emotional rhythms, ones you control entirely. Every goodbye is a test. Every return is an answer. So here's your challenge. Treat every departure as communication, not absence. Leave signals they understand. Return with energy they can feel. Because what feels like just another day to you feels like eternity to them. If this makes you rethink how often your golden waits by the door, take a second to reflect, and maybe give this video a like. Because awareness isn't just the first step to being a better owner. It's the bridge back to the bond your dog has been quietly begging you to repair. Your golden retriever doesn't just want to exist, they want to contribute. They were never bred to be decorative companions lounging all day on the couch. Their heart beats for purpose, from fetching, guiding, comforting, to simply helping you with daily routines. The tragedy is that most modern owners unknowingly strip that purpose away in exchange for comfort and convenience. Let's be honest. When you tell them to just relax, they don't understand that. To them, doing nothing feels unnatural. Golden retrievers are working dogs by design. Their ancestors retrieved game in rain and mud, reading human emotions as commands. When you take away that challenge, their instincts have nowhere to go, and frustration quietly builds beneath the surface. This is where the myth of the perfect family dog becomes dangerous. People think Goldens are calm by, but their calmness comes only when their mind is fulfilled. Deny them a mission, and that composure turns into suppressed energy that leaks out as chewing shoes, digging holes, or barking for no reason. You might think it's misbehavior, but it's actually an unexpressed job trying to break free. Think about it like this. Giving a golden no task is like telling an athlete to sit still for days. They don't rebel because they're bad. They struggle because they're wired to act. The University of Veterinary Sciences once highlighted how lack of purpose decreases dopamine levels in high-drive breeds, creating stress patterns identical to mild depression. That wagging tail you see? Sometimes it's a mask. But here's the heartbreaking part. Owners often try to compensate with affection alone. They shower their dogs with kisses, toys, and baby talk, but those gestures don't replace work. To a golden retriever, affection without engagement feels hollow. They understand love through partnership, not just hugs. So when their days are filled with idle pampering, it's like clapping for a musician who's never allowed to play. Have you ever seen your golden carry something around the house? A sock, a toy, a random piece of paper? That's instinct screaming for an outlet. They're trying to show you what they were born to do, join you in tasks, feel useful, be part of the team. Yet, most owners laugh it off or take the object away without realizing it's a cry for purpose. Denying that instinct doesn't just bore them. It confuses their identity. What happens next is subtle but serious. Without mental work, their obedience slips, their focus weakens, and their anxiety spikes. They begin to pace or beg for attention, not because they're needy, but because they're lost. Their mission vanished, and with it, part of their spirit. And when that happens repeatedly, the bond between human and dog starts eroding from the inside out. But here's the beautiful truth. Fixing this doesn't take hours of training. It takes intention. Integrate small jobs into daily life. Ask them to bring you things, guide them to close a door, or practice short scent hunts around the living room. These moments activate ancient circuits in their brain. You're not just tiring them out, you're reminding them who they are. Even 5 minutes of purposeful play per day can transform their mood, posture, and confidence. You'll see their eyes light up again, not because you offered food, but because you offered relevance. That's the secret to a truly happy golden. They don't want to please you, they want to partner with you. They crave teamwork because it's coded into every cell of their golden fur. So next time you catch yourself thinking, "He's fine, he has toys," stop. Toys are distractions. Purpose is fulfillment. Your golden doesn't need constant entertainment. They need meaningful interaction. Challenge them, include them, talk to them as if they're your right-hand friend, because in their mind, they already are. And if this opened your eyes a little, if you realized your dog might be craving something deeper than attention, take a second to acknowledge it. With a like, with a thought, or with a small change tomorrow morning. Because purpose isn't luxury for your golden retriever. It's survival in disguise. Be honest, how many times a day do you reach for the treats just to make your golden happy? It feels harmless, even loving. They look at you with those honey brown eyes, tail gently sweeping the floor, and you give in without thinking. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Food has become their emotional substitute for movement, discovery, and mental challenge. You're filling their stomach while draining their mind. Goldens are emotional eaters because we've taught them to be. We feed them when they're bored, tired, sad, or simply because we're guilty for leaving them alone. Yet every extra handful of kibble teaches them that comfort comes from food, not experience. Over time, this pattern rewires their behavior, dulls their curiosity, and turns them into gentle but passive companions, living, breathing ornaments instead of explorers. That's not who they're meant to be. Their ancestors didn't survive centuries by lounging and snacking. They were field workers, swimmers, and retrievers, burning energy as naturally as breathing. Fast forward to today, and that instinct still burns beneath every golden coat. So when they don't get to use their body or brain, the imbalance starts showing, not as immediate sickness, but as slow mental erosion. The spark dims before the body does. Many owners mistake calmness for health. They'll say, "He's such a good boy, just sleeps all day." But you need to ask yourself, is he peaceful or just disengaged? There's a difference between resting after activity and shutting down from lack of purpose. One comes from satisfaction, the other from surrender. And the extra food you give only deepens that quiet surrender. Here's what shows. When dogs move less but eat the same, or more, their dopamine balance shifts. They crave instant gratification, but lose interest in challenges. It's the same loop that drives boredom in humans who scroll endlessly on their phones. In golden retrievers, that loop looks like overeating, restlessness, or mild depression. You can see it in their posture, their focus, their eyes. But here's the paradox. Your golden isn't lazy. They're mentally starving. They are designed to seek tasks, not calories. A dog that used to leap for a ball but now waits near the bowl isn't content, it's conditioned. Movement and exploration should be their reward, not food. Yet we flip the script, and they're the ones paying the price inside their bodies and minds. Think about this for a second. Every treat should be a message, not a distraction. Feed them for effort, not emotion. Turn meals into mind games. Scatter food in different rooms. Hide kibble under small cups. Use slow feeders that force them to think. Watch how their demeanor changes. That spark you thought was gone lights right back up. Because stimulation and nutrition are not separate. They're partners in the same emotional ecosystem. And don't underestimate play. Physical exertion balances their hormones, stimulates circulation, and sharpens their focus. It doesn't need to be long. 10 minutes of scent tracking or fetch in the yard can do more for their mental health than an entire day of sitting next to you on the couch. Remember, movement heals boredom from the inside out. It's easy to fall into the trap of showing love through food. We all do it. But your golden doesn't need endless treats to feel valued. They need balance. They need intention. You're not just their provider. You're their coach, their teammate, their mirror. If they eat too much and do too little, it's because you've accidentally trained them that way, and you can just as easily untrain it. So the next time you open that treat jar, pause for a moment. Ask yourself if what they really want is a biscuit, or a change of scenery, a quick game, a challenge. Teach them that fulfillment doesn't come from chewing, but from doing. If this hits close to home, maybe it's time to put down the treat bag and pick up the leash. Because the healthiest love you can give your golden retriever isn't extra food. It's a purpose that keeps both their heart and spirit hungry for life. You probably thank your golden lives for your hugs, snuggles, and constant kisses. After all, they seem to soak it up, right? But here's the shocking truth. Not all affection feels good, even for the most loving breed on earth. What you call love can sometimes feel like pressure, and instead of bonding, you're teaching your dog that touch equals stress. Golden retrievers are incredibly emotionally intelligent, but also deeply sensitive to energy. They read your tone, your posture, even the pace of your breath. When your affection comes at moments they don't expect, or when they crave space, that rush of love can trigger cortisol rather than oxytocin. In simple terms, what's comforting to you can feel overwhelming to them. Imagine being hugged when you're anxious or sleepy. It doesn't feel warm, it feels stifling. Dogs, like people, have personal boundaries, even if most owners never notice them. A wagging tail doesn't always mean more please. Sometimes it means I'm trying to be polite. When your golden averts their gaze, licks their lips, or stiffens while you hug them, that's not affection, it's tolerance. They want connection, but also the freedom to choose when it happens. Love, forced on your terms, slowly chips away at trust on theirs. The myth says Goldens love hugs. The truth is deeper. They love connection that feels mutual, predictable, and respectful. Physical closeness must be earned moment by moment, not demanded at will. When affection becomes routine without reciprocity, your dog learns compliance, not comfort. Over time, that turns genuine affection into a forced ritual, and your golden's bright eyes begin to fade with quiet surrender. Think about the way they approach you. Sometimes they bring their head under your hand or rest their paw on your leg. That's them asking for closeness. At other times, they walk away after a few seconds, not because they don't love you, but because they need space to feel safe again. When you ignore that rhythm and chase them down for more cuddles, their brain releases stress hormones instead of bonding chemicals. What feels like love to you feels like pressure to them. This imbalance leads to invisible cracks in the relationship. Maybe they start walking away faster when you reach out, or they flinch slightly before a hug. You dismiss it as shyness or old age, but it's emotional fatigue. In their world, touch is powerful language. Used too carelessly, it confuses instead of comforts. Respecting that boundary doesn't make you colder, it makes you trustworthy. Here's a powerful shift. Let them initiate the affection. Wait for them to come to you, then mirror their energy. If they lean in, stay still and breathe with them. Let your calm presence speak louder than your arms. This turns affection into a shared decision, where your golden feels seen, not handled. It's in that mutual stillness that true bonding happens. Scientific observations show that dogs mirror human body chemistry during moments of genuine emotional alignment. That's when oxytocin rises in both species, the same hormone that binds mothers to infants. But the key word is alignment, not imposition. You can't rush it. You can only create the conditions for it to appear naturally. From now on, see affection as a conversation, not a command. Ask instead of assume. Notice their responses, their breathing, their body language. The more control you give them, the more freely they'll give love back. Because in their heart, trust is the foundation of affection, not the result. If this makes you pause before your next cuddle session, that's a good thing. Don't stop loving them. Just love them in a language they understand. Let them teach you how they want to be loved. And if that idea resonates with you, show your connection by liking this video. Because the strongest bond with your golden retriever isn't built on endless hugs. It's built on respect, balance, and timing that makes every touch mean something. You've probably seen it 1,000 times. Your golden retriever wagging their tail, looking up at you with those soft eyes, and you assume everything's fine. But what if that tail wag wasn't happiness? What if it was confusion or even anxiety? The painful truth is that most owners don't actually know how to read their dog's emotional language, and every day, their silence gets misinterpreted as contentment. Golden retrievers are masters of masking discomfort. They were bred to please, to anticipate your needs before their own. That means they often hide stress until it becomes too heavy to bear. Their signals are quiet, a lowered gaze, a slow blink, lips pressed tight instead of loose. It's easy to miss because they're doing what they think they must, protecting your peace at the cost of their own. Here's the heartbreaker. When owners miss those signs, they accidentally teach their dogs that emotions don't matter. You tell them to stay calm when they're scared, or be good when they're overwhelmed. And so, they stop communicating, not because they're fine, but because you're no longer listening. Silence becomes their survival strategy, and you become fluent in misunderstanding. Think about the last time your golden sighed deeply for no reason. That wasn't drama, it was release. When their body goes still after excitement, it might be fatigue, not satisfaction. A dog that refuses commands one day might not be stubborn. They might be emotionally drained. Yet humans rarely give them the same grace we give ourselves. Space to feel, process, and reset. Tells us their emotions function in surprisingly human ways. They experience cortisol spikes, adrenaline bursts, and oxytocin drops the same way you do after a stressful day. But unlike you, they can't talk about it. They rely entirely on your awareness. Ignoring those signals is like leaving a crying young apprentice in another room because you assume they'll stop eventually. They do, but only because they've given up hope of being heard. This emotional neglect slowly corrodes the bond you thought was unbreakable. The dog that once ran to greet you now approaches more cautiously. Their play gets softer, shorter. Their eyes seem distant, as if their heart is half awake. Many owners describe it as their dog getting older, but often it's not age, it's burnout from constant emotional compromise. But here's where everything can change. The fix doesn't demand training collars or therapy. It requires awareness. Listen with your eyes. When your golden glances away during petting, pause instead of insisting. When they lay their head on your lap without enthusiasm, respond gently, not energetically. You're not reading weakness, you're witnessing honesty. These micro moments rebuild emotional safety, the kind of safety that transforms obedience into trust. Start tuning your attention to subtle cues, yawning outside of fatigue, paw licking after tension, or a furrowed brow during loud noises. These are all whispers for help. Don't shame it, soothe it. Step into their emotional frequency instead of dragging them into yours. Remember, empathy isn't about doing more. It's about understanding better. Every truly happy golden retriever shares one thing in common. Not perfect health, not a fancy diet, but a human who listens. The kind who sees the tremble before the bark, the sigh before the nap. That mindfulness tells your dog they matter beyond their obedience. They stop performing love and start experiencing it. So here's your reflection moment. Your golden retriever talks to you every single day. You just have to learn their dialect. Their silence, their glances, their subtle gestures are full sentences waiting to be heard. And once you do, the connection you'll feel outshines any trick or command. Because love, real love, isn't about what you say. It's about the quiet things you notice. If this made you see your dog a little differently, take a breath and let that realization sink in. Maybe leave a like if it opened your eyes. But more importantly, Tomorrow, when your Golden meets your gaze, look back with the awareness of someone who finally understands what they've been saying all along.